Hey peeps! So instead of slapping you in the face, I'm gonna gently touch your face with more films to recommend. Now for anyone new to my channel, my recommendation is different from others who also make these kind of lists. I usually pick out movies I've seen from any year and just put them in one nice big list or bigger list and give my reasons for why I think these films are worth seeing. Now I said before that I wanted to bring the numbers up of films I'm recommending, and while I'll still be following through, how I approach that will be different probably after this one. Sometimes it'll be 2 parts, other times it'll be 3 parts. But it'll keep me organized and productive considering how my life is changing right now. So the first video was 5 parts, the second was 8, the third was 15, and now this one is 30. This is my biggest list yet, and we'll see where that goes from here. So I try to keep the list varied with films that I think anybody will like. Some will be familiar, others not so much, but that's why I love films, baby. They're universal in their own approach to giving the audience an experience. So let's not waste any more time and get down with these 30 freaking movies. So at number 30 we have The Thieves. Now the heist genre is not a genre that I'm too crazy about. Reason being is because it's really hard to care about the characters and their motivations can be pretty messy or inconsistent, but at least with this film it manages to have a complex narrative while still presenting characters that I actually like. Their motivations aren't very different from a film of this type, but them distinctively makes this element of the heist genre pretty refreshing. And what also makes this one stand out above the rest is the first half sets up a pretty satisfying and fairly well written second half. I love a lot of the stunt work and heist sequences, the performances are all pretty great, and the ending is pretty satisfying. It's not a perfect movie, the score is definitely not the strongest element, not to say that it's bad or anything, but this is a pretty entertaining ride overall and I recommend it to anybody. At number 29, we have Julie Taymor's Frida from 2002. Julie Taymor is a director I like even when it comes to her misses, but Frida is another film that showcases that she's more than just a play director. Taymor uses a lot of creative techniques and sequences that really help illustrate the way Frida saw the world around her. The film is colorful, vibrant, alive, and very detailed in its story of Frida. Salma Hayek was nominated at the Oscars for the role, and I can't really see why she wouldn't be. She fits the role like a glove, and there's not a weak slip in her performance. Alfred Molina was also fantastic and even stole some scenes actually. There are some distracting casting choices that I felt were just for the sake of recognition and drawing in a bigger audience, but other than that I think this is a pretty great movie and I definitely recommend giving it a watch. At number 28, we have the Netflix documentary series called Cheer. Now, I actually did not expect to be so sucked into this documentary as much as I was from the first episode. This docu-series gives a lens at the not too successful college students who go into cheerleading as an outlet for the struggles in their outside lives. Unlike most series involving dance or cheerleading, this one actually shows the consequential side of cheerleading. The characters in this series are very likable and sympathetic as we continue to know more about them, and the series also becomes more alarmingly disturbing as it goes on. There are some really well shot sequences that give the glamorous yet still realistic side of cheerleading, and the sound design really emphasizes the intensity of the sport. This is a must see for anyone who is or has been in cheerleading in the past, or you're just looking for something of quality to binge watch, but I definitely recommend this to everyone, so give it a watch.
Open up. Don't think about it.
Speed.
Morgan, that's slower than yesterday.
At number 27, we have Obvious Child. This is the film that actually made me a fan of Jenny Slate. This is one of the few romantic comedies that actually gets it right too. It's genuinely funnier than most comedies because the film remembers that it's not a bad thing to write characters that feel like real people. The performances are relatively strong, with Jenny Slate giving a very good performance. The film is overall well crafted, with its heart being in the right place. It does follow the story beats of your typical rom-com, but it rises above the rest because it explores its subject matter respectively while still maintaining its quirky personality. Definitely a very enjoyable and heartfelt comedy, and I say give it a watch.
Whoa!
I did the first screaming, and then the second scream I had from scaring myself from the first scream.
At number 26, we have Malignant. This one is pretty divisive, especially depending on if you're a horror fan or not. For me, it definitely depends, but this movie surprised the crap out of me. James Wan is definitely a staple of the modern horror genre, and after Aquaman, it's safe to say that he made up for it with this after that crap. The film mixes the psychological with the slasher in ways that work better than I thought. The performances are exceptionally good, and the score is one of my favorites in a horror film, honestly, because it's very reminiscent of John Carpenter, actually. Now, the movie isn't perfect, it's not even really all that scary, but man, is it a lot of fun. Now, this movie isn't anything artistic or anything, but it does reward a second watch in ways that I appreciate it. Wan's signature camera work is still prevalent, and the movie is incredibly exhilarating and pretty insane. So yeah, this isn't going to be everyone's cup of tea, but if you want a good time, definitely give this one a watch. At 25, we have Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. This is my favorite MCU film, and I'm not even crazy about Marvel films in general. I think what I really enjoy about this one is that it feels more self-contained, rather than leaning on a bigger plot in the MCU universe, which was exactly my issue with the first film. Here, the characters feel more layered, their relationships have more definition, and there's actually an emotional core to this one. The film is also much better shot, with a lot of stylistic choices that complement the film's tone. This also goes for the music choices, which feel better placed in certain scenes and moments more so than in the original. The movie just oozes out more personality than the first film ever could. I can never understand why no one gives this film the credit it deserves, but much like Star Trek Beyond from my 15 recommendations list, this feels like the movie James Gunn actually wanted to make. I can watch this one 1,000 times and never get bored of it, and I definitely recommend it, MCU fan or not.
Wait a minute! Run!
At 24, we have Whisper of the Heart. This is a very underrated Studio Ghibli film, and I love how grounded it is. It's not a high concept fantasy story like most of their films, but instead a very realistic and relatable story of a young struggling writer. It does have some fantastical elements, but they remain in the confines of how the film wants us to view the characters. The film explores what it means to be an artist, and how the relationships that we develop can inspire our art in ways that we didn't expect. The movie is very heartfelt and quirky, the characters are all very endearing and lovable, and the film is honest about what it's communicating. Definitely not one that many people talk about, but one that I personally love, so I say give it a check out.
Off we go! That's it, we're riding the air currents.
At number 23, we have Wings of Desire, directed by Wim Wenders. Now, I haven't seen a lot of films by Wenders, to be perfectly honest. The last film I saw from him was the documentary Pina from 2011, which I haven't seen in a while, but I remember enjoying it, so maybe I'll see it again at some point. Wings of Desire is a film about a wandering angel that desires a life on Earth with a woman that he falls in love with. The film is incredibly well made, giving the contrast with color to show the perspective of humans to angels. The film's performances are all nuanced and elegant. The dialogue is very poetic, especially when the film explores what human thought can be to an angel. The cinematography is to die for. It's a slow film that's very unique in its execution. The pacing may not be for everyone, but if this looks good to you, then I suggest you give it a check out.
Könntest dir vor dem Spiegel jedes Mal eine runterhauen. Was ist das? Irgendwas ist. Ich bin doch auch noch da.
At number 22 is Fantasia, objectively Disney's best film, and I don't care what anyone says. This is definitely their most mature film in their catalog. The film doesn't have a streamlined mainstream plot, but more so a series of shorts that's visually stunning with stellar music to complement each segment. The animation is fantastic as usual, with each portion having its own unique tone and style. The film can be intense, beautiful, and funny, and the film successfully provokes the intended emotions, especially near the end. I mean, I definitely forgot my tissues. The film gives a visual representation of what music can be to the subconscious part of the mind, and I find that to be an amazing achievement in filmmaking as a whole. Now, if you're wondering what I thought of Fantasia 2000, well, there were like 3 or 4 segments that I liked, and everything else felt like a cheap way to keep kids in their theater seats. But as far as this one goes, I've yet to get tired of it, and if you haven't seen it but only heard of it, then I definitely recommend you give it a check out.
My congratulations, sir.
Congratulations to you, Mickey.
Gee, thanks. Well, so long.
At number 21, we have Michael Jackson's This Is It. This was a huge surprise for me when I saw it in theaters in 2009. Instead of being one of those films that labeled themselves a generic concert experience, quote unquote, This Is It gives us a deep dive into Michael's rehearsal sessions for his final yet ambitious concert before his unexpected passing in the same year. What I love about this film is the detailed footage that gives us a view on Michael that we've never really seen before. Michael would definitely not want something like this being released, but I feel like it was the right call. The film is energetic, energetic, exciting, with MJ's incredible music getting a modern live concert upgrade. There's just something euphoric about how this man could do his thing at 50 and still communicate his vision to those around him that shares his passion as well as his musical impact. Whether you're an MJ fan or a fan of his music or not a fan, this is still a blast to experience and I definitely recommend it.
Get me out, bam! Something right there. Into the nighttime. Four walls won't hold me tonight.
At number 20, we have Solaris. This is definitely the slowest film on the list, and it's probably even the second least accessible, but I could not get this film out of my head when I first saw it. The film is a masterclass in giving the viewer a true sensory experience. It's incredibly thought-provoking and elaborate in the exploration of its themes of humanity, much like Tarkovsky's other films. The cinematography is careful, elegant, and patient. The ambient score is fantastic, and the set designs still look amazing and hold up after 50 years. Like I said, it's a very slow film, but unlike most films that supplement substance for just images to provide significance to elements in their films that are otherwise, every single choice in Solaris feels very intentional in its execution. Not exactly a film that'll leave you smiling, but one that leaves you with a lot to think about. So if this is something you're down for, then definitely give it a watch. At number 19 is Kung Fu Hustle. Stephen Chow was one of my favorite directors in the comedic genre, and this is definitely his best film. He manages to always make the craziest concepts and ideas work in ways that most comedic American filmmakers pretty much just can't. The film is over the top, the fight choreography is outstanding, it's gut-bustingly hilarious, and the Chinese orchestral score is still pretty memorable for me. In a sense, the plot is pretty familiar, but Chow adds enough originality to give this sort of plot and story a new pair of lenses. My only real complaint is that some CGI sequences are pretty dated. I mean, they still work for this type of film, but it was less distracting in 2005 than it is now. But overall, this is a pretty great film that's a ton of fun to watch, and I highly recommend it. At number 18 is the film Norma Rae. This is based on a true story about a woman who fights for higher pay and better working conditions at her textile mill job with the help of a union member. The film is all around very entertaining and engaging. The chemistry between the two leads is the heart of the film, and the film addresses very important economic and racial issues during that time. The film also addresses the financial and ethical state of the small town, and it's a very inspiring and important story. Sally Fields won deservingly Best Lead Actress, and the entire cast gave it their best to make the feel of these events as real as they were back then. This is a movie I've loved ever since I first saw it, and I definitely recommend it to everybody.
Mama! Mama, come on. Come on now, Mama. Come on.
At number 17, we have an Argentinian movie from 2001 called The Swamp. This is quite the immersive and bleak experience. The film lacks music, but the sounds and noises of the environment really complement what the film is going for. The film doesn't really follow a traditional narrative, but instead peers into the class differences of these two cousins and their relationships with their own family members. The film is beautifully directed and shot with some effective editing choices that communicates the thematic bridge between the characters. It's incredibly well acted, especially from the child actors, and there's a lot of children in this movie. It's a pretty uncompromising story, and it's not going to be for everyone. Sadly, no one really even talks about this movie, but I think it's excellent, so I say give it a check out. At number 16, we have the documentary called Some Kind of Heaven. This is one of the most well-executed documentaries that I've seen in a while. The film circles around an area for the elderly called The Village, located in Florida, and it sort of explores how this utopian of some sort is presented with an odd, unusual atmosphere, but at the same time it gives a setting of uniqueness that calls into question if this place is as perfect as the dwellers believe it is. We focus on three people, one being a couple, and it really calls into the themes of what makes this place perfect, bringing that question into the forefront. The film is shot better than most documentaries I've watched, with stationary shot composition that gives off a Wes Anderson vibe. The music really captures the atmosphere and the feel of the film overall, and it's just a bittersweet experience that's pretty memorable, and I say give it a watch.
There is no place like this. This is Nirvana.
What?
At number 15, we have The Invisible Life from 2019. This movie is pretty sad and heart-wrenching. It's about two sisters that have been separated for most of their lives and do not know where the other one even is. How this all plays out is a way that I won't spoil because it's an emotional roller coaster from beginning to end. The performances are just fantastic. I love the way this film is shot. Everything just feels so dreamlike and full of color. The story is incredibly engaging and I had no clue where it was going to end, with the ending being one of the best endings I've seen in a movie for a while. And even on a second watch, it's all the more powerful and emotional with the information prior. This movie undeniably got me all up in my feelings and I definitely say give it a watch. At number 14 is another Netflix documentary called Icarus. This is one of the craziest and most entertaining documentaries I've seen in a while. It's about a man trying to find methods to bypass drug screenings that detect performance enhancers in sports. What goes from a topic about the crackdown of drug users during the Olympics transforms into an insane amount of reveals that I didn't see coming. The characters in the documentary are just so memorable and I was so invested in where all this was going. It's safe to say I was more than satisfied. It's a very well filmed documentary with some very impressive sequences. It's intense as the film builds and adds some much needed lenses on things happening that I was never aware of in the realm of sports. Whether you're a film lover or a sports enthusiast, this is definitely a high recommendation.
For now, I just like a yes or a no. Did you ever take banned substances to enhance your cycling performance?
Yes. At number 13, we have Terry Gilliam's Brazil. This is one of the most zaniest, imaginative, creative, and surreal experiences I've ever had with a movie in a while. The film is a comedic take on George Orwell's dystopian sci-fi book 1984. Jonathan Bryce is fantastic in the lead role as well as the entirety of the cast. The film is so freaking well shot with some very strange and cartoony images. The tone of the film successfully balances comedy with dark better than most films that attempt to do that. My favorite part of the film has to be the production design. It's amazing how films so anti-Hollywood can look better in the 80s than most Hollywood films today. Now, if you know the story of Gilliam's fight with the studio to get his true version of the film on screen, then you know that the Criterion copy is the best version to get. This is a fantastic film, and I highly recommend it, no hesitation. At number 12, we have Wally. This is my favorite Pixar movie. What I love about this movie is just how visual it is. The film is minimal in dialogue, mainly in the first half, but the film respects kids as well as giving adults enough to chew on. Wally himself is not only one of my favorite characters, but he's also one of my favorite character designs in any animated film. He's designed like a robot, but still able to maintain a degree of expression that's readable. He's such an endearing and lovable character that it's hard not to love him. Now, a lot of people like to complain that the first half is better than the second, blah blah blah, but I feel both halves complement each other and tell the story pretty strongly. Sure, it's not thematically subtle, but the themes don't feel like they're impeding the story. It's a great science fiction film, a great love story, and an overall memorable experience that I highly recommend. And number 11 is If Beale Street Could Talk. Now, this was a tough call between this or Moonlight, but Beale Street shows director Barry Jenkins' improvement on a technical level, plus all the strengths of Moonlight, and that for me makes this a better film. The film is just so beautifully directed with excellent usage of shot reverse shots to emphasize human expression. The film's camera work and cinematography is careful and deliberate, and the film's score is one of my favorites of any movie. It communicates a very common theme, but with a very poetic and elegant lens added to it. It's a film that takes its time but really comforts the senses. I feel it's a pretty great movie and deserving of a recommendation, so check it out.
Mama?
Yeah, baby.
At number 12, we have the French film My Life to Live. This was my first introduction to director Jean-Luc Godard, who is one of the biggest faces of the French New Wave in the 60s. When I first saw this film, I was locked into its presentation, its filmmaking, its editing, and the lead actress Anna Karina. What I love about this movie is how minimalistic yet stylized it is. It doesn't beat you over the head with what the film is communicating, but instead gives the viewer a very unique and still grounded experience. It's paced a little differently than the average filmgoer is used to, but this is a good start for anyone interested in films from the French New Wave. Definitely a recommendation for any film lover, and I say give it a watch.
Tu dis que tu m'aimes, mais tu me considères pas comme quelqu'un de spécial. Moi, je ne t'aime presque plus. Je te considère comme quelqu'un de spécial quand même.
At number 9, we have the movie Upstream Color. Now, while I'll never ever support another project that Shane Carruth creates in the near future, I do think that he's a truly talented filmmaker, especially on a lower budget. He wrote, directed, shot, edited, acted, and composed the music. I mean, good God, dude. The film presents a very memorable experience for the senses. It's a movie that I recommend not looking anything up before watching it, but just truly allowing yourself to get sucked into it. It's a film that I've watched endless times, and it just keeps getting better and better. I definitely recommend that you give this a watch as soon as you can. At number 8 is The White Ribbon. This is my favorite Michael Haneke movie and the 2009 winner of the Palme d'Or in 2009 at Cannes Film Festival. The first time I saw it, I could not take my eyes off of it. Haneke is a downright proficiently talented director, and this film showcases why that's the case. Every frame of this movie, every single frame is perfect, and every single frame also communicates so much, and not one frame is wasted. The story is beautifully told and filled with undefined tension and mystery, and the performances, like La Cienega, are great from both the adults and the children. Haneke utilizes the black and white better than any film I can think of, and it just complements this bleak and unnerving atmosphere of its setting. This is a movie you get more out of the more times you watch it, and if you want a good start to Haneke's filmography, definitely check this one out.
Deine Tochter befingerst? Dafür, dass ich dir helfe, dich selbst zu betrügen? Dafür, dass ich mir anhöre, wie einzig dein...
At number 7 is Graduation by Christian Mingyu, the same director of 4 months, 3 weeks, and 2 days for my 8 recommendations list. Now, I gotta be honest, I can't choose which one I like better. 4 months' plot was intentionally simplistic, while Graduation is just a little more complicated, but equally as meaningful. Mingyu continues to emphasize blocking, action, and shaky camera work to communicate the tension among the story and its characters. I love how this film explores the light and dark side of morality, and I love that there isn't really an answer to that. I don't want to say too much about this movie, but I will say that it's a tense, mysterious experience with great writing, performances, and direction, so definitely give this one a watch.
Ai, Grisha!
Ist okay?
Da.
At number 6 is Red Rocket, directed by Sean Baker. Now, the reason why I'm recommending this movie instead of his last two is because I'm hoping that this one will get people to see those movies. This is Sean Baker's best movie thus far, and he has shown clear and drastic improvement. The film uses 16mm film, which helps give the grainy, rural look of the Texas setting. I love how Baker uses such vibrant, lively color palettes and cinematography to give this type of setting such life and personality. Give it to another filmmaker, and he will probably make this setting as ugly as possible, but Baker is one of the smartest directors around, and he knows exactly how to make a setting as important as its characters. Simon Rex is fantastic, as well as the rest of the cast, and the film is just a great example of a slow car crash that you just can't look away from. I won't spoil the story because it's a film you need to see, but I love this movie to pieces, and I say watch it as soon as you can.
Technically off the property, so you can't call the cops because I'm on public land, respecting your boundaries.
Can you keep it down?
Can you come over here so I don't have to project my voice, please? Fuck!
At number 5 is the Korean film Burning. Lee Chang-dong created a masterpiece in my opinion. It's a film that doesn't sledgehammer you the story, nor does it give you nothing to take away from it. Its characters are very strange and out of the ordinary, which makes them very memorable and engaging. The film is gorgeously shot with beautiful landscape shots in particular. It's a film that rewards your patience by the end and makes you want to go back to it, which I have, and every viewing gives me more reasons to love it more. I definitely say check it out, especially since it'll leave you with a lot to discuss, so it's a high recommendation.
그런 생각이 들면서 나도 저 동물처럼 사라지고 싶다.
At number 4, we have Ghost World. This is one of those films that hits pretty close home for me. It's a small-scale film about two friends trying to figure out their lives after high school. Thor Birch and Scarlett Johansson give career-defining performances as Ina and Rebecca, friends with the same yet different perspectives. And Steve Buscemi is a scene stealer at times, as the insecure and lonely Seymour. It's a very funny yet somewhat cynical film that's honest about what it's going for. This is one of the more personal films for me on the list, and I highly recommend it.
We came by to fuck you, but you were not home. Therefore, you are gay. Signed, Tiffany.
At number 3 is the movie Her by Spike Jonze. This is a pretty incredible and heartfelt love story. The film does an excellent job at giving a realistic / retro yet still otherworldly vision of the future. There's no definite timeline and there's no opening text or voiceover dumping exposition about the future, but instead it's communicated through aspects of technology and the basic human interaction within the universe. Joaquin Phoenix gives my favorite performance from him in a long time, and man is this movie directed beautifully. The music is so fitting emotionally and thematically, and Jones' direction is very sleek, clean, and immersive. I love some of the editing choices, and the writing pretty much won the Academy Award for Best Original Screenplay for a good freaking reason. This is an excellent movie that everybody can enjoy, and I find it resonating, so definitely give it a watch.
What do I call you? Do you have a name?
Yes. Samantha.
Really? Where'd you get that name from?
I gave it to myself, actually.
At number 2 is Anatomy of a Murder. This is my 5th favorite movie of all time, and it's my number 1 favorite court drama ever. This is one of those movies that I would argue has no flaws in it at all. Every single element of this movie works. Writing, directing, score, cinematography, performances, pacing, dialogue. The freaking dialogue, dear God, it's good. It's a movie I can watch 1,000 times and never get bored of. Jimmy Stewart and George C. Scott chew the scenery up with their natural talent. I love every intentional directing and camera work choice. It's a film experience that just gets better and better. Now, I don't want to spoil anything, especially the plot, because it's such an engaging, tense story that ends on a very satisfying note. So definitely give this one a watch.
You listen. Now, until this trial's over, you're going to be a meek little housewife with horn-rimmed spectacles. And you're going to stay away from men and juke joints and booze.
And my last recommendation for you people is Ghetto Drumroll. I'm Thinking of Ending Things, directed by Mr. Charlie Kaufman. Now, my last Kaufman film I recommended was his movie Anomalisa from my 8 list, and Kaufman is an immovable force in the writing department, but I did not expect this movie to be as well directed as it was. While I always did think that Kaufman was a good director, he's definitely shown some crazy improvement in the department anyway. In terms of directing skill and choices, this film has some very intentional choices that also include his editing. When I first saw this movie, I had no freaking clue what the crap was happening, but after watching it at least 3 or 5 times, I can safely say it becomes all the more meaningful and clear. Much like his other films, this film explores the complexity of the human mind in the darkest regions. Jesse Buckley and Jesse Plemons, Toni Collette and David Thewlis are amazing in this film and display such flawless display of range. Now, I hate how this movie wasn't even mentioned once at the Academy Awards. I mean, honestly, this movie deserves a win in every department. It's because Kaufman said that the Oscars are phony, which they are, but overall, Kaufman once again displays unmatched filmmaking talent, and I definitely recommend you watch it more than once. You will definitely get more out of it from repeated viewings. I recommend it more than any other film on this list because it's that good. So definitely give this one a watch.
I watch enough scary movies to get the idea. Don't look down in the basement.
What up, peeps? Okay, so I'm sorry. For one, I'm sorry that my hair kind of looks kind of bad because I kind of woke up and I was like, oh, let me finish this. But also, I want to say that sorry this video took forever, because it did. Not only because, you know, how long it took to edit and, you know, record and all that stuff, but at the same time, I was moving. So I moved into my new place, and yeah, that took a lot of my time up, plus class, plus work. So a lot of that kind of not only made me sound tired at some points in the video, but at the same time, you know, it just took a whole lot of my time up. So yeah, I was very tired, and I'm a little tired now. Like I said, I just got a lot going on, but I did kind of see this video through. Now, you'll also notice that there are 3 movies that also are foreign that had no subtitles in it, and I'm just gonna be honest, I was too lazy to add subtitles, or I was too lazy to pull out, you know, the movies to do it. I'm just gonna be honest, I was lazy. And the reason why that is because when I was unpacking, as you can see, I have to literally re-alphabetize everything, and I'm not doing that crap right now. I really don't feel like doing it again. So yeah, there's a lot going on, quite a bit, but yeah, like I said, I'm finally done with this video. Also, I'm working on a couple of things. I think I mentioned in my updates video last time that I'm gonna do the Blair Witch. I'm actually working on the Blair Witch review right now. That I still have to do Baymax. I want to review the first season of Baymax, and I think that's it right now. You know, just 2 projects that I'm kind of looking forward to doing. But yeah, that's pretty much kind of what I have under my belt right now. You know, as far as future projects goes, that'll be a thing. And another update is that I'm gonna I actually just restarted my Twitch channel. I don't really have only have like a few followers right now, only because I just started it. And yeah, so I'm gonna start live streaming. If you want to come see my stream, check me out there, chat with me. You know, definitely you know, just help me get this Twitch thing started too. You know, like, you know, but hit a follow there. I'll put the Twitch link in the description. But yeah, you know, I'm doing that too. So yeah, like I said, I got quite a bit going on right now. Thank you for your patience, and I also think you know, I got a few more subscribers too. We're almost like we're like what, 5 from 100 subscribers right now, which is actually pretty awesome. You know, honestly, that's unbelievable. I didn't think I'd even get that far. You know, 100 in my opinion is good enough. You know, to where it's a good bridge over. You know, but yeah. So I hope you enjoy the video. Like I said, if you like the content, leave a like and subscribe. To the people that have subscribed, thank you very much for the support. You know, every small thing matters to me very much, and thank you for your patience. So hopefully you will see me in the future. I will be pumping out content. Like I said, it's going to be more consistent than constant because, you know, school, work, you know, all this other crap. Yeah, being an adult sucks. But yeah, thank you for your patience one more time. I just want to say it one more time. But hopefully y'all have a great summer. And for those going back to school, I hope you have a safe school year. And for those, you know, returning or just starting school, you know, just be safe, you know. Definitely have a good time. Stay cool under this heat, and peace out and love y'all.